In today's video, we're going to work on a solo ukulele rendition of the classic sea shanty, the Wellerman. This is a super fun arrangement on the ukulele, and it's perfect for anyone that's looking to up their fingerstyle game because the first melody is going to be using a lot of that finger picking style, or their strumming game because the second melody is going to incorporate a lot more strumming. Now this is meant for a high G ukulele, and it's a pretty challenging arrangement, but it's very approachable, meaning if you're a beginner player, you can still get a lot out of this, starting with this first melody that's a little bit easier, and if you're a more intermediate to advanced player, the strumming section is quite challenging, really fun, and really rewarding. Let's go ahead and dive into it though. It's going to look something like this as I bring the camera down. And if you'd like to download a copy of this tab, be sure and check out the link below to my Patreon page. More on that later. But let's go ahead and look at this first part, and let's hear what it sounds like. This first stanza is going to sound something like this. So how do we play this? Well, we got to learn a little bit of technique here with our playing hand. We're going to be using this finger style type of technique, and we're going to be using something that's called alternate picking. What that means is we're going to be using our thumb, index, and middle fingers, kind of like a three-finger picking technique, in some different ways. Let's go ahead and dive into the beginning. We're going to play the second fret on the A string with our index finger here for our pickup bar. I like to use my middle finger here to pluck that string. Then after I've played that, I'm going to build this little E minor. Now this is actually quite a stretch, and there's a reason we're playing it this way that comes up later. But I'd like you to try to stretch your middle finger out here to the 4th fret on the C string. So you see index is here on the 2nd fret of the A, middle finger here on the 4th of the C. And what I find helps is angle the fingertips towards your shoulder over here on your playing arm, because that just allows you to get a little bit more distance. It's okay if your thumb kind of comes up as well to get that space. It is a stretch. But what we're doing here is we're then going to play the 4 on the C, and I like to use my thumb for this. Now remember I said alternate picking, and the reason is now I'm going to play the open E string, and I'm going to use either my index or middle. It actually doesn't matter. You can use your index or your middle, whatever you're more comfortable with. But we're going to play the 4 on the C followed by the open E, and then the 4 on the C again with the thumb, and then the open E again with whatever finger you use, either the index or middle. Then we're going to play open on the G with our thumb. So this measure is quite fast for picking. You see how we alternate the fingers to get more speed. Going into the second measure here, we're going to strum through. You see the little squiggly line on the tab? That means you're going to take a finger and strum through. Now, you could use your thumb. The problem with using the thumb is it kind of brings the whole hand down, and because we want to be fast with this, I like to either use my index or my middle finger. You can strum through with your index finger, see how it keeps the fingers down low in position. Or what I actually like to do is use my middle finger. Gives this nice kind of clicky sound almost. I actually quite like that texture of that middle fingernail going down. And the big reason I like doing this is because as soon as we strum through, we then need to play the 2 on the A, and my middle finger kind of comes up, ready to go to pluck that note. And then you'll see it plays the 2 on the A again, and now my index can pluck it. Now it's fine if you do the index strum through, and then pluck with the index, pluck with the middle. Just what you want to make sure is whatever finger you lead with, you follow with the other one. So index to middle, or middle to index. Totally fine. And then the last note of this measure is the open G, which our thumb is going to pluck. As we go into the third measure here, we're going to go to this A minor chord. Now, to play this, all that you need to do is take these 2 fingers and leave the middle where it is, slide the index up to 3 on the A, and add the ring finger here on 5 of the E string. So you have 0, 4, 5, 3. Same strum through with your index or middle fingers. And then we're going to play open on the A, and then open on the A again, alternating between your middle and index finger here. And then you're going to play 3 on the A. And you're going to continue that sort of alternate picking. Now, it's okay if you double up on a finger here and there. The reason we're doing this is just so that we can get more speed as we go through. And then finally, the fourth measure here is going to be taking off the ring finger, taking off the index finger, leaving the middle finger where it is, and a stretch here, pinky to 7 on the A string. This is a bit of a stretch. Unlike the one here with the 2 where I angle the fingers towards the right shoulder, this one I'm going to angle the fingers straight up and down. By doing that, it does open up this part of the hand and makes the stretch a little bit easier. So 7 with the pinky on the A, 4 with the middle on the C. I'm going to strum through. I like to use my middle. Again, you can use the index as well. And then we're going to play 2 on the A. So now we have to take this pinky off and jump this index back down, angling it towards our shoulder. Pluck that 3 times, alternate picking. So now this whole stanza looks something like this. And going into the next stanza here, it sounds like this. So this is the second half of this first melody section, and it plays some of the same stuff that we've been doing to this point. We're going to be still holding that E minor chord in that awkward way, right, with that middle finger here on the 4th fret of the C string, index here on the 2nd fret of the A string. I'm going to just pluck my C with the thumb, and then E, I can use my middle or index here, C on the 4, and then I'm going to play open on the G with the thumb. So the thumb doubles up here. And then on measure 6, I'm going to strum through the E minor using my middle finger strum or index finger strum. Play 2, then open on the G, unless that's actually the same thing we did on measure 2. And then on measure 7, we do something a little bit different. We're going to bar across the 2nd fret with our index finger so that we're across all 4 strings. Make sure you hug next to the fret wire if bar chords are difficult for you. That's a big trick, is kind of turn the finger and hug it. That can really help get a good connection. We're going to strum through, and we're going to play the G string. This is why it's a high G arrangement, is a lot of these melody notes are on the G string. There's an alternative way of playing it with low G. I've actually got a tab linked down below. If you're a low G player, you can check it out. But for us high G folks, just do it like that. And then we're going to play 3 on the E, taking this middle finger, adding it here. It's okay if you use your ring finger too. For some people, that's a little bit easier, as long as you get a good connection. And then we're going to play 2 by taking off whatever finger we added, which should leave the bar for 2. And then as we go on to the 8th measure here, we're going to play this 4 on the C. Now, a couple notes. One is, if you've never seen tab before, you see how it's circled? That just means it's a half note. Don't worry too much about that. It just means it's worth the 2 beats, basically. But the bigger deal is the little line that comes before it. That is a slide. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our middle finger here. We're going to place it on the 3rd fret of the C string. We're going to pluck that note with our thumb here. And we're going to immediately slide it into the 4th fret of the C string. To get that slide, you just maintain pressure. If anything, increase the pressure a little bit with the finger right after you play it, going up to the 4th fret. And then, another little confusing marker here. You see the chord is 0, 4, 0, 2, so that's that awkward chord we've been playing throughout the song with that stretch between the index and middle fingers. And what I'm going to do here is it's another half note because it's circled. And then if you look above it, there's this little 3/4 square. That's a strum marker. This sort of starts the strumming section. We're going to take our index finger here and we're going to do a down strum just over what I call the sweet spot of the ukulele. Now, if you've never strummed before, I got a video on basics of strumming. Check it out here. I've got a whole course on strumming too that talks about a lot of these concepts. It's linked right over here. But the gist of it is I'm just going to take my index finger, flick it over the strings across this portion of the ukulele. So this stanza should sound something like this. Pretty cool, right? And a stanza is just this line of music. So that was measures 5, 6, 7, and 8. Just so that you can hear it, I'm going to play through the whole melody A section, just so you can get a good idea of the vibe. And then we're going to go on to the strumming section and talk about that. So here's what the whole first melody should sound like. And I'm going to play it nice and slow. Pretty cool, right? From here, we go on to the second melody section, and the tab is going to look something like this. You'll see there's a lot of strumming here, and there's a few different things to unpack and talk about before we go through it. The first is just the strum markers. The little 3/4 square, that's a down strum, and then the little V's, those are up strums. Down strums are the index going down across the strings. Up strums are the index coming up across the strings. An important note is there's no such thing as 2 downstrokes in a row. That sounds weird, but what I mean is the down needs to have the hand come back up before it can do another down. So when you look at different things and you see 2 downstrokes in a row, or when you look at this tab, for instance, and you actually see the markers of a downstroke, 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 upstroke for the first measure, what that actually is going to be a downstroke then you're missing the strings. You're bringing the hand back up, followed by another downstroke, missing the strings, followed by another downstroke, missing the strings. Before the end there, we have got the downstroke and the upstroke, where we strike the strings. So just keep that in mind. There's no way that you can do 2 downs in a row. You have to miss the strings coming up. And what that does is it creates the hand to be very consistent with the movement. And this is what makes strumming so hard for a lot of people. It was for me, especially. Strumming was my biggest weakness when I was learning. And so that consistency of movement, keep the hand moving, that's going to be the trick to getting this proficiently. Well, let's go ahead and try working on playing this, see what's going on. We're going to start here with the C chord, taking your pinky and adding it on the 7th fret of the A string. And we're going to do that downstroke with our index finger. Then we're going to bring the hand back up without striking the strings. And then we're going to do a ghost note. You see that little 0G in parentheses with a downstroke marker. How we do this is we take our thumb on our playing hand and we're just going to strike the G string all by itself, kind of come outward a little bit with the angle here, making sure you bring the hand down. All that this is a nice little background sound. It's in the parentheses to tell you it's not a melody note, it's just filler. And all that does is fill space and fill time with our hand movements. So after we've done that ghost note, we're going to bring the hand back up, and then we're going to do another downstroke over the 7 on the A with our index. And then we're going to bring our hand back up, and then we're going to do a ghost note again, and then we're going to come up on 5 of the A. So we take this pinky, slide it down 2 frets, and come up. So the count and timing of this is going to be something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I know that's very confusing. There's a lot of movement here, but just keep that hand moving like this, and you'll be off to the races with it as you go through. The next measure here is going to be this G chord. So our pinky finger stays here. We're going to take our middle finger, add it on the 3rd fret of the E string, and then we're going to take our index and we're going to bar it across the C, E, and A strings all together. Really important to get that there. We're going to strum through those just like that. And then we're going to come up, taking the pinky off so that we have the 2nd fret of the A string. And then we're going to do another downstroke here. Then we're going to come up with our hand, go back down, come back up with the hand. And then you'll notice that these notes are in parentheses here at the end of measure 10. What that means is I'm going to take these fingers off. You see how it's all zeros. I'm going to do a ghost note, and then I'm going to come up nice and soft. This is a technique that I like to call an open switch. And the reason is because we're coming off so that we can get ready for the next chord. We're coming from this chord, coming off. And then when you look at measure 11, we go into this A minor chord by playing 4 on the C with the middle finger, 5 on the E with the ring finger, and 3 on the A with the index finger. And we're going to strum through all 4 strings there. And we're going to miss the strings coming up. And then we're going to take this index off, and we're going to strum through with the open A now. Miss coming up. Then we're going to go down up on this chord. And then we're going to add the index here on 3 of the A. Miss coming up. And then we're going to go to this E minor chord, and we're going to take the middle finger, hold it, stretch the pinky up to 7 on the A. Remember, keep the fingers more straight up and down, makes it a lot easier. We're going to do a down, miss coming up. Then we're going to do the down now, tilting the fingers towards the shoulder. So it's 4 and 2. Do another down. We're going to miss coming up, another down. And then we're going to miss coming up. And then we're going to do a ghost up. And you see how these are in parentheses because these are supposed to be a filler as we switch into the next place. This is a lot of movement. And if you haven't done much strumming, this can be immensely overwhelming. But I'm going to show you this at a few different speeds going through these. It's okay to do it 1 bar at a time. And as you work on it, you just want to keep that hand motion really consistent and smooth. So I'm going to play it at 3 different speeds. I'm going to play it super slow first. It sounds something like this, starting at measure 9. Should be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You can almost hear it there. It's too slow, right? So here it is a little bit faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. starts to get the sound, and now here it is at full speed. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... The trick is that consistency of movement, and it makes it very difficult when you're practicing it, but you got to trust the process and you'll get it. Super fun to play once you have it. Going into the next set of 4 bars, let's go ahead and hear these 4 before we play them. They should sound something like this. So you'll notice that's more strumming and then a little bit of picking in there. So this starts now with measure 13 here. It's going to actually be the same that we played before. In fact, measures 13 and 14 goes from the C to the G chord in the exact same way we did measures 9 and 10. So it's the same. Just instead of now going to the A minor that we did on measure 11, we go to this measure 15, the B minor chord. And we've played this B minor before. Remember, it's the bar all the way across the 2nd fret. We're going to do a down strum. Last time we did our little sweep strum with a finger, right? This one is a down strum over this area. But then we switch to finger picking. So what I like to do is leave my thumb up here after I do that, because then the next note I'm playing is the 2 on the G, which is right there ready to go. Then we play the 3 on the E, adding this finger, going to finger picking now. So I'm going to be using my middle finger or index finger. And then we play 2 on the E, take that middle finger off, pluck it. And then I'm going to do my little slide here, middle finger on 3 of the C, play it, slide immediately to 4, and then a down strum on this awkward E minor we've been playing. And then I pluck 2 on the A. And the reason I pluck 2 on the A is that's our pickup, and you'll see there's actually a repeat symbol here. It actually is going to go back to melody A and play through that. So here's that whole stanza again, measures 13 through 16, should sound something like this. And here's the whole strumming section in its entirety. Again, pay extra close attention to my hand and notice how consistently it moves during all the strumming. That's the trick to getting this stuff in time. Should sound and look something like this. Now at this repeat, we go back into melody A. So I'm going to play this now. I'm going to play all through. I'm going to start at the beginning of the song, play through melody A, then melody B, the finger style, then the strumming, and then I'm going to do the repeat. It goes back to melody A again, and then melody B again, and then we'll move on to the ending melody B. So here's what this whole thing should sound like, something like this. Now from here, we go on to the next melody B, that's the ending. So we basically play it in the format of it goes A, B, and then B again to finish the song. But this B has some slight differences. The good news though is the slight differences aren't actually played until the very end of it. It's going to start here with this stanza, measures 17, 18, 19, and 20, looking very familiar because 17, 18, 19, and 20 is exactly the same as what we played on 9, 10, 11, and 12, the beginning of melody B. And they sound something like this. It's exactly the same as what we played before, which is awesome. And then from here we go on to 21, 22, 23, 24 for the ending. And it starts the same C chord, going to that G chord. All that's the same, measures 21 and 22 are exactly the same as 13 and 14, but then it changes here. In measure 23, we go to not a B minor like we did before, we go to a B7, which you hear adds that tension. It's really nice for the ending. And what that is the bar across 2, just like the B minor, and then add the middle finger here on 3 of the C. We're going to do our strum through, and we're going to use our index finger with that. Then we're going to pluck the G, the E string 3rd fret. So this time we got to use our ring finger here, kind of stack it in underneath. That's a little challenging. We're going to play 2 on the E by taking that finger off. And then we're going to do the same slide into the 4 there with the middle finger, just like we do before. But then, to finish the song, we're going to hit this 0-4-0-7 chord by leaving this finger here, straightening the hand up and down, and adding the pinky here on 7 of the A, and strike through all 4 strings to end this beautiful tune. So that whole last section should sound something like this, starting with measure 21. And so that you can hear it, here's the entire ending section. It should sound something like this. And there you have it. This is a beautiful tune, tons of fun to play. I'm going to bring the camera up for a moment. My favorite part about this song, obviously, is all these techniques, right? It's so cool to be able to layer in fingerstyle and strumming and have an arrangement that works both of them. So if you're a player who's been looking to up that technique, and up your game with being able to transition between them, this is a really good tune to do it with. It's also nice because while you can play this tune slowly when you're first working on it, it rewards very fast play. So it's a really good one to work on trying to build up. Playing all this as fast as you can sounds so cool, and it's such a rewarding thing to work on. One quick note, this tab is adapted for the ukulele, and you are more than welcome to adapt it yourself as well. What I mean by that is sometimes you might want to add extra notes or take out notes or add extra strums or take away strums, and that's totally fine. As long as you have the right number of beats per measure, you can kind of do whatever you want with it. And that's one of the things that makes this such a unique tune. When I'm doing the strumming part, for instance, I have a set strum pattern that I've written out here for you on the tab. But you could, if you wanted to, keep that hand moving and almost do whatever you want. What I did there is I just started moving and I started strumming the strings. I could just do straight down ups if I wanted to. That's a cool, unique sound, right? The pattern I wrote here is one that really highlights the melody, adds some challenge, incorporates some technique with the ghost notes, but you can really do whatever you want. That strumming section is one that's really fun to play with and tweak, and if you're going to play the song as like a performance, it's only about a minute long as it is, right? Add more by repeating more and adding variations to the strumming and the picking too. You can add more notes if you want. I'm just adding extra notes, especially if I'm trying to be more authentic to the original to get the lyrics all represented. So it's a fun one to tweak with, see what you can do with it. And if you make an arrangement of this and you like to share it with me, please consider checking out my Patreon page. This is the song that was decided on by my patrons. Every month we do a suggestion post where people can suggest what they want to see for a lesson. And then I curate that list and make a vote, and then whatever the patrons decide is what we work on for that month's lesson. And in this case, the Wellerman was the winner. And I was really excited about it just because this song is so much fun to play on the ukulele. So if you'd like to download the tab of this, check out all of my other lessons. We've got like over 100 tutorials on that Patreon page. Please consider checking it out. And if you're a patron, thank you so much for your support. I could not do this without you. I so appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of my teaching journey and allowing me to be a part of your ukulele journey. As always, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Like and subscribe to see more of these YouTube videos here for free, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much.